the metro. We already had the one around Prospect. So let's watch this one as it goes through the area. Fairdale seeing a quick little shower pop up, and it looks like we have some new information over here. What do you have for us, Mark?
So Hayden and I were just talking. Hayden came over into the Weather Center, and this is something that, you know, Rick, and you can kind of come over here. This is something that we always talk about, is that this stuff affects us as well. Sometimes it affects our family. Sometimes it affects where we live. Hayden, you're getting some messages out of your neighborhood. Yeah. And they're not great.
They're not great. At the Taco Bell right by my house, there is a semi-truck on Indiana 62 that is overturned, and that's right near that shot of I-265 in Indiana that we've been showing you, where there are at least 3 semi-trucks. So now, in just a very small area, we're talking about a 5-minute radius, at least 4 semi-trucks overturned. That Taco Bell is right by my house. My husband had to go into our basement and bring our pets down there and put them in the carriers because we have a plan in place. He did it right away, but we are seeing widespread damage in the community where I live. And I mean, you start to realize that we are part of this community, and I just can't thank you guys enough, because I was sitting here and I was watching your maps and I was able to communicate it, and it's really overwhelming. And I'm seeing these messages pour in from our neighborhood. We don't know about damage yet because it's not safe to go outside.
No. And so, you know, I just wanted to share that with you, because I think that it's important to understand that this stuff is hitting. It's affecting our friends and our families around the area. Take the tornado warning seriously. We appreciate you being candid and sharing that with us, Hayden. I'm going to take you back over to Stormview 3D. Rick, the recycle has obviously fully occurred now. We talked about what was occurring here on radar. So what has happened over the years is at my team, I can tell you that most of us have worked the entirety of our career to gain expertise in radar. I was fortunate when I was in college to work with a crew called the Doppler on Wheels. We drove radars to where the tornadoes were, and we got high-resolution data, and we did it over and over and over again. And I spent probably about 3 years of my life buried in radar, like literally every single day looking at radar. And so, you know, you start to see how storms function, what signals are they letting off, when are things changing. And this has become a value to me as a meteorologist, because I can tell you that when you see things, this isn't the first storm to do it. Every storm before it has done similar things. So when we rock back, I want to go back to when the area of rotation was near LaGrange. And what you're going to see here is the greens and reds, and right here, let's stop. The 2 cores of these, the brightest, were far apart. And now let's start to move closer and closer to the now. And what you're going to start to notice is these cores of the strongest winds are getting closer and closer and closer together, to the point now where they are right on top of each other. Rick, I'm concerned we may have a tornado forming here, and let's put a look at, we've got a tornado on the ground, guys. Tornado on the ground now heading towards Newcastle. There is a confirmed tornado on this. I don't care if the tornado weather service has a tornado confirmed on it. This is a tornado touchdown. Rick, let's just go through. I just want to make sure we're being thorough. Let's look at reflectivity just to verify we're buried. Yes. Let's look at rotation just to verify. And let's go back over to correlation coefficient. So what is that? Why is that there? This is rain. The sea of pink is rain. Why is there a hole in it? There's a hole in it because all of the particles that the radar is seeing in the pink here are the same size. You're like, Mark, of course they are. It's raining. Why is the hole there? The hole's there because those particles are not the same size as rain. These are trees. These are roofs. These are shingles. These are families and lives that are being changed with tornadoes. And now it's heading towards, Rick, let's just rock it back and forward briefly. I just want to make sure on where this is going so I can give accurate. Watch this. You'll see the tornado form right here, and there it goes. So this looks like it's going to go towards Newcastle. Newcastle, Kentucky, Henry County. Look, guys, let's get to our safe spot. We know what to do. We know to prepare. We've seen semis blown over. We've seen a semi on top of vehicles. You heard Hayden's story. Her husband's safe because he took action. Take action. Take action if you're in Henry County. If you're near Newcastle, you go into the center part of your house. You keep away from the windows in the house because if the windows burst, that glass is on you. That doesn't go well with us. You keep away from windows, you get into the lower structure. If you can get underneath the table, you protect yourself. And it looks like it's lofting even more debris as this is getting more and more blue. Newcastle, you've got 6 minutes until there's potentially a tornado. There's a tornado right now, 6 miles away from you. It's heading in your direction. Let's get you and your kids into a safe spot. Let's make sure we protect ourselves, and let's make sure that we don't let the tornado take anything that is too important for us. We can replace our homes. We cannot replace our lives. So in Newcastle, you've now got about 5 minutes until a tornado's in your area. Safe spot, middle of the house, keep away from windows. Rick, I just would like to look at the rotation here to see if it's coming up or going down. There's the rotation. It is significant. Rick, I'm going to look across this, and I'm guessing we've got one higher gate here, and we've got a couple here. I'm going to guess we're looking at somewhere near 80 knots of rotation.
We've got 33 on one side.
Okay.
And 43-ish on the other.
33 and 43 goes up to 76. 76 is about 80 knots times 1.15.
And it just went up.
Okay, we got a tornado moving into Newcastle. 3 minutes.
48
okay.
And 52 now.
Now we've got a tornado that's producing about 120 mile-an-hour winds. This is an EF2 tornado. This is a strong tornado. It is intensifying, and it's moving right towards you, Newcastle. Your life is in danger right now. You take protective action. You go into the center part of the house. You protect yourself. You clean up this weekend. You go outside with your camera. You may not be here this weekend. It's that serious. I don't like to ratchet up unless we have to ratchet up, and we have to ratchet up. It looks like the Weather Service is caught up on this one, Rick.
Yep, they observed.
Okay. And Rick, it looks like they're going long stream.
They're down
now.
the line as well, you're right. They're really being proactive about this one.
So this means the Weather Service, as us, feel like a long track tornado is underway. This is a strong, long track tornado. It's your life. It's your life. And the decisions you make right now in Newcastle affect what the course of your life will be moving forward. It's that serious. It is that serious. We have a tornado on the ground that is doing damage near Newcastle. And you can see the Weather Service, Rick, kind of explain this. Why would you issue a tornado warning so far away when the tornado is still a huge distance away from the end of that initial tornado warning? What's the purpose? What is the strategy the Weather Service is now employing?
Well, they're obviously seeing the fact that there's debris being lofted, and to get people to take action, they are giving this warning far in advance, so that way you have no excuse. You know it's on the ground. You know it's doing damage, and that's why the Weather Service has put areas like Owenton inside the confirmed tornado, because on the south side, there's nothing. There's nada. There are no storms showing up in Christiansburg and Shelbyville through Harrisonburg, so there is plenty of fuel to feed on, and nothing is out there to interrupt this storm. Now, I don't want to downplay what's happening right now, but I also have to address the fact that in Louisville, that we have storms that are ongoing in the city, West End in particular, from Portland through Russell, down through Rubbertown, Chickasaw, Shively, on the northern edge of PRP. We have a thunderstorm, which is not severe.
But let's look in there, Rick.
Let's just make sure we don't see any sort of wind. So I'm going to actually use the analyst just to make sure
and just so you guys know, what Rick is doing is what we always do. And you guys can see, if you watch us regularly, we're thorough. We are going to make sure that we're not just guessing at it. We're really detecting what you see. Rick, you're looking inside that thunderstorm. Sure, I think some 40, 45s are possible moving through Shively. Rick called it out. Chickasaw neighborhood, Rubbertown right now, the Russell neighborhood, moving towards Audubon Park, PRP, Valley Station, ultimately Heritage Creek. This is going to go through Okolona, the airport. We'll move north through U of L campus, and then towards downtown. I see 40, 45 mile an hour winds. I don't see what's occurring elsewhere, but when we go back over to radar here, the reality still is, Rick, there's a hook on that storm that is moving right along the Waterston Expressway.
Right.
And you and I have dealt with this today multiple times. We've seen it where it looked inconspicuous, and then it went downhill quickly. And so we need to continue to monitor that area really, really closely. There are some signals of rotation on that storm moving through Shively. There's no warning on it right now. And downtown, Rick, you can kind of hear it. I mean, it's
pouring.
It's pouring.
Yeah,
so Louisville, as Rick said, we want to cover you guys. We want you to know what to expect. And it's worth putting a storm track on this one so that we can track it across the county. It's not severe right now, but you know, the reality of all of this is a lot of people are wondering what's going on. And in the end, that is our job. So 11 minutes from now in Okolona, 14 minutes from now Newburgh, the Highview area 19 minutes from now, and Jeffersontown 26 minutes. So J-Town, you've got 26 minutes until this storm is on top of you. Is this the only storm that's going to be affecting Louisville? No, there's more, and there's a core right now near West Point. All of this we will be watching. But what is the most important, the most pressing, the most dangerous right now is a tornado that conceivably is on top of Newcastle. Rick, I think maybe we're seeing a little bit of a positive signal here. Let's go back, and I want to rock back just 2 frames and show you what we had versus where we are. So you're looking at potentially a tornado right now hitting Newcastle, Kentucky, and we're going to move this back 2 scans and see what the rotation looked like. Greens, reds, on top of each other. What this is called in science is gate-to-gate shear. So if these high velocity values are on top of each other, the rotation's really tight. Now we're going to move it forward, and we're going to move it right into Newcastle, and what you're going to see is, and let's zoom in a little bit, but we're seeing the greens and the reds separate a little bit. Now what I want to do is look at this in terms of the debris. Is it worse or better? We're going to rock it back 2 scans. And what you're going to see here is a tornado, a very obvious tornado. And we're going to roll this right now into Newcastle. And what you see is it doesn't show the same signature. I'm not saying there's not a tornado on the ground right now because there's still debris. I think at minimum you're seeing debris falling in Newcastle right now. You know, when you have to say something like that, it's not something we enjoy. But the rotation over Newcastle, it's right on top of Newcastle. If the trends continue, we're probably seeing an occlusion of the storm. Now, this is what is a storm that has produced at least 2 tornadoes in our area, at least 2, maybe more. Obviously, the Weather Service would get out there, and they're going to be surveying it. And I got to tell you, tomorrow's the anniversary of the April 3rd event. Just so you know, the Weather Service has obviously put a lot of time into the 1974 remembrance, and they're going to be out doing damage surveys after they do 1974 remembrance stuff. So this is still something, and Rick, I want to put rotation on here because whatever this is came out of Newcastle now. The rotation is getting a little bit more broad, a little bit wider, maybe not as deep of a signal. Is this producing a tornado? I don't think we can say one way or another for sure right now, Rick. But what I think we can definitively say is it looks like it's not the intensity of what it once was.
Yes.
We're starting to see rain that is getting south of there. A lot of times what that does is choke off the updraft base. Thunderstorms, as Rick noted, like warm air. That's the fuel. If you get rain, cool, ahead of that, it can weaken it. But this also means that we're going to have to really, really closely watch what's behind it. Because if what's behind it can get into that area, what can happen is that can intensify as well, which means the storm near Louisville that's coming down the Waterson Expressway right now may be the one that's primed to get the most fuel right now.
Right, and so that's why we're keeping an eye on every single storm that poses a threat. Trust me, we're not going to let you down here. Right now, we have some smaller hail, which is showing up. This is in downtown Louisville, so areas like Logan Street, Jackson Street, 4th Street Live. You're looking at maybe some half-inch to inch hail coming down. Again, we're not seeing any severe storms in the metro, just to clarify, but the rainfall is coming down very heavy. We now have the strongest core, which has moved out of the west end. It's now basically up and down I-65 and east in areas like St. Matthews through the Highlands into let's say Parkway, the Village area. This is all inside the Waterson, this core of the strongest storm. And there's still that little kink on it. So we have to watch this one for some potential rotation. And Mark, you have some new video you're looking at?
Yeah, so I'm looking right now at a prospect where the tornado touched down earlier, and there's a lot of trees down. From the shot that I have, I'm not able to see if there's any structural damage, but at least at minimum, what I'm seeing is that there are a lot of trees that are damaged. So, we know that we've had a tornado that moved through Metro Louisville. And one of the things we said last night is let's hope that we do not get sunshine today. We did, and it's problematic. We've got hail now in Metro Louisville. Old Louisville just reported some small half-inch size hail. Rick, you can see that on Storm View 3D. So that small hail right now just moved that, is in Old Louisville, basically. So that hail core is going to go down 64. So that would be in St. Matthews around 4 to 5 minutes from now. And then you can see also along Bardstown Road there. So that is moving and crossing Bardstown Road. This is going to be basically near Baxter is where we're kind of looking at that. So it doesn't look like huge hail, but it does look like hail that's going to be rolling its way down 64 towards St. Matthews. I'm going to move the 800 building camera just so we can get that thing aimed towards the east and look into this core. But we're getting multiple hail reports now in Louisville, and that's getting bigger. And this also tells us two things, just so we're clear. Number one, the storm's intensifying, which we have seen and which concerns us and worries us. But now we have hail that's basically near the tunnels along 64, heading towards St. Matthews.
Right, this is Keats Ave, Mark, Jane Street. If you live along these roads, this is Bailey Ave. Hopefully your car is in a safe place and not exposed to this. Let's say Peterson Avenue, also getting some of that larger hail. This is going to go east, so this is going to probably end up between St. Matt's and Rolling Fields, the strongest hail core. So we actually have some video of hail by the tunnels. Okay, there we go. So there are the tunnels. You can see some of the hail. Looks like...
Yeah, you can definitely see that's hail falling.
Yeah, I would not want to be driving in that at all.
By the way, don't be that guy that stops on the highway because there's hail falling and then the car behind you crashes into you. I'm not saying I want to drive in hail because nobody does. It's never, ever, ever fun. But just be aware that you need to keep moving along. You must keep moving along. This is a very telling graphic. I'm going to show you guys power outages because we have seen a distinct uptick in Louisville and Oldham County. Oldham County, you've been hit by a tornado. Your power outages are now at 3,600, 3,595 in Oldham County, 2,516 in Louisville without power. Obviously much less in Louisville than Oldham County. Oldham County clearly has been hit by a tornado.
Right, and just so you know, tomorrow, not to take away from this, but temperatures are going to be in the 40s.
I know, it's crazy.
So people who don't have power, I know crews are going to be working around the clock trying to get people back up and running with the lights on, but tomorrow, you're probably going to have your furnace on. That's the kind of cold air that's moving in, the snap that comes in behind it.
I'm just going to say, Rick, I let it get up to 77 degrees in my house today, knowing full well it was going to get colder that way. I didn't have to turn
We're going to go in this direction.
We're not going in this direction, but team, hold out. Let me show you 42 and Covered Bridge Road. And this is, Rod, who is this that's out here? Is this one of our photogs? So we're just getting, okay, Ariana Shuko's out there getting us some of the video. And you could see there's obviously a large limb down, and there's tree limbs, at least branches that are in the road. This is Covered Bridge Road in Prospect. And this is one of what we're going to see much more of that's occurring. And you just know that this is your home because you look around our studio right now and you have people that are just stopped and that are going over to the camera and to the screen to look at what you're seeing. We have damage, guys. You can see what looks like a power pole that is clearly snapped. This is obviously contributing to power outages there. And I don't know if we have a reporter here that we can. So has Conroy been able to talk to anybody in this area? And if he has not, I'd like to come back to him if we can, and so people can report what they're seeing. But you can see this is Covered Bridge Road. Can I talk to Conroy? Did we know if he's on mic yet? So what we're going to. Okay. So live pictures for now, but we've got our Conroy Deluche that's on scene. And again, I just want to say this to all of our news crews. We cover weather. Obviously, we have to cover what's happening, and it's our goal to make sure that you know what to expect. I can tell you as somebody that has worked at television stations where it's not always weather being and news being on the same page. But it's been incredibly valuable for us to have our crews out there. Now, our Richard Essex is in southern Indiana, and Richard is in an area that we have been talking about where we've had some semis that were blown over. And I want to kind of get a sense from Richard of what he's seeing out there because we know that we've had some damage occur. We know that in southern Indiana, we know that a tornado moved through just north of I-265, just north of the East End Bridge. And we know that it blew over some tractor trailers, and even one was on a car. And Richard is in this area, and he's looking at what he's seeing. Richard, tell us what you've got.
Well, there are 3 down semis right in the middle of the interstate. Well, there's one right here behind me. I've never been this close to a semi that was overturned by weather. There's another one about 100 yards down. Then you can see on top of the overpass on International Drive, a 3rd semi that's down. And police tell us that there was a 5-car accident at the intersection right over here. You can see the police car that's getting ready to pull away. There's a car that was upside down. That looks like they're getting ready to put that one onto a wrecker.
Good, thank you.
But there's a car that was partially that semi that's about 100 yards down. A car was underneath that partially, but they were able to get that car pulled out. We've seen a number of ambulances around here, so that we don't know if anybody was injured or how many people were injured or if it was even worse than that. But we've seen a lot of ambulances leave this area in quite a hurry. We know that most of the interstate is shut down, 264 in both directions, shut down. They're letting the traffic that had backed up in this area get through, but they're not letting anybody go much further than this. It was quite a mess. I mean, of all my years of doing this, I've never seen such a mess like this, with 3 semis blown over so quickly and shutting down the interstate. Back to you guys in the studio.
So appreciate Richard out there. Richard is obviously seeing some of the scenes that we've been reporting about. For us as meteorologists, it is somewhat disheartening sometimes to see this stuff happen, but we know that this was today. We knew that today had the potential to be damaging tornado scenario, and unfortunately, that's what we are seeing. If we can, I want to see if we're going to be able to get Conroy, but I want to go back to where our tornado warned storm is, because we still have a storm with a tornado warning on it, and I'm going to show you where that is. So I'm going to put a scope on this so we can kind of look at the rotation within the storm. This gives us the ability to tell, is there something in there that really concerns us? Do I have a signal right now that screams tornado on this storm? So what I'm going to do is go over to what we call Storm View 3D. You guys have been watching this a lot with us today. Storm View 3D is our workhorse. It allows us to see within the storm rotation. So I'm going to roll you back a couple of scans so you can get a sense of what was occurring in terms of rotation versus what is occurring right now. And you can see, as this storm has moved by the Newcastle area, it was a very intense area of rotation that was moving into Newcastle. I believe that's probably going to be somewhere around maybe high-end EF1 to EF2 tornado. You could see as it pulled away, that area of rotation has become more and more diffuse. It is certainly not the area of rotation it was. Beyond that, we don't have one of those signals in there where the area of rotation would be near the Gratz area that is screaming that we have a tornado on the ground. So the area of rotation is right now just to the south of Gratz, making its march off to the east. It'll ultimately move out of Henry County, and once that gets out of Henry County, understand that we will no longer have a warning that's in effect for a tornado warning for our area. But that said, I think that we're probably going to stay with this for a little while, even if we don't have a tornado warning in effect for Metro Louisville. And I will tell you, or for our viewing area, partially because I think it's really important that we still have these storms ongoing and continuing to cause some problems within our area. So we had a storm that we know produced a tornado. We have power outages now that extend from Jeff through around Prospect and that went into Oldham County. And our Conroy Deluche has been out in the Prospect area, kind of getting a sense of what's going on. And Conroy, you can't really get the sense from just a camera. What do you see?
Oh. Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So we're out here at Covered Bridge Road near Highway 42. Sorry, it's very loud out here because cars are moving back and forth. It's still raining. Let us show you what we've got going on behind us right now. This is Covered Bridge Road in Prospect, where if you need landmarks, we're right by the Prospect Food Mart, where the power is also out. And you can see the trees are down on this road. There are utility poles that are snapped, and it looks way worse than it does on the, or it looks way worse from here than it does on the other side of the hill, fortunately. I did walk up there just a little bit ago to talk to a couple of neighbors. They said that all they heard was a loud boom. They knew the storm was coming, but they were just working, plugging away when all of a sudden there was a loud boom outside. And as we were driving on 42 toward Prospect just after things touched down, there were trees down everywhere, both sides of us, left and right. We're talking gigantic, at least 30 feet tall trees, probably stood for decades, withstood a number of storms over the years, but this was a powerful punch we're seeing out here. Fortunately, on this road, and once again, this is Covered Bridge Road, we've just really seen a fence down for 1 yard and then another. Trees are right in front of his front door. But out here, we're not seeing too much damage directly where we are, but the power is out. The Prospect Food Mart, I walked over there just before our live shot, and we were talking to a couple people who were working there at the time, and they said that, you know, their car window was blown out, the power went out, but everybody's okay. They're just wondering when can they reopen, and a lot of people are driving through trying to get gas, but you know, right now things are a little bit tougher out here, and this car is gonna have to turn around. We have seen a couple of cars drive over these lines. We highly don't recommend that. That is not just my advice, that is from LG&E, that is from other utility companies, because they need to come through here and do the work themselves to make sure that roads are passable, that roads are safe. And fortunately, they did just turn around. So we're seeing a lot of trees down here in the Prospect area, some near homes, a lot on the roads. But so far, from where we are, it doesn't look like anything significant was damaged. But again, we've not made it any further than this toward the Shelby County line. So this is where things stand right now, and we're going to see what else we can find.
And that's our Conroy Deluche reporting out of the Prospect area. Conroy, take a look around the area. Let us know what you continue to see. We appreciate you getting out there to let everybody know what has occurred. 2,913 people without power here in Oldham County, 2,563 without power in the metro Louisville area. We still have storms. We've got new warnings now to get you caught up on. And Rick DeLuca, we now have a new severe thunderstorm warning, and it's an area that was hit by severe weather already. Henry, Oldham, Shelby, and Trimble County severe thunderstorm warning. And Rick, this storm is going through an area where we've already been hit. And also, it's probably a little bit further south, which means it has access to more fuel.
And that's why we are watching this storm like a hawk. So now you are talking about eastern portions of Jefferson County, Henry, Oldham, Shelby, and Trimble County underneath a severe thunderstorm warning. Quick, important note, this one does not have a tornado possible tag. Does that mean we can't see one? Absolutely not. There's still the potential for some spin-ups here. You can see the main line, some gusty winds tracking off to the east, areas like Chestnut Grove, Simpsonville. This is right around 64, so we saw that storm with the intense hail right around the tunnels around Grinstead. Now that's moved off to the east. As we track this storm to the north and east around 40, 45 miles an hour, that means it will be in Newcastle in 9, Eminence in 17 minutes, Pleasureville in 30, and if it can hold together, areas like Owenton in about, let's say, 39 to 42 minutes or so. There's very heavy rain, there's a lot of lightning, and the main two hazards are some wind gusts to around 60 and some quarter-size hail. So what you do, you reach in your pocket, you pull out a quarter. So that's an inch in diameter. Now, we've seen some larger hail today, but most spots have seen quarter-size hail, which can do some damage, so please, if you are in these locations, you need to be inside, away from the windows. It's not smart to go outside and look at these storms. I know they can be fascinating. Right here's where we have a tiny little area of a hail core, and you know that by the lightning. It's definitely picked up around the Beckley area, so that's Arnold Palmer Boulevard, probably seeing some hail with that tracking east along 60. You should be ready in Simpsonville, Todd's Point, and Chestnut Grove as the storm continues. Mark, you have some new information over there in the Weather Center?
Yeah, I'm just getting a report here that there's a partial house collapse on Charlock Court on the Oldham side of Prospect. 2 people in the basement when it occurred. Fire and EMS are just getting on the scene. Also just got a report that a roof has been removed from a residence on Chelsea Meadow Court near LaGrange. So news, I'm going to forward this. Rod, I'm going to send this over to you so you have this information. But we have a roof that's been removed from a residence on Chelsea Meadow Court near LaGrange. We have a partial house collapse on Charlock Court on the Oldham side of Prospect. 2 people in the basement when it occurred. You know what? I know it hurts to kind of hear that people could be trapped in there, but they're in the basement. They did the right thing, and hopefully that making the positive choice hopefully means a great outcome out of this. Thunderstorms continue here through Metro Louisville on what has been a busy, busy day across our area. Rick, I'm just going to take control briefly of StormView HD. I just want to speak to what's occurring here, because I think that it's important beyond just Metro Louisville, beyond the tornado warning, all of this, what's happening and what does this mean moving forward. And I'm going to take a walk over to the weather wall here because I want to show our radar and speak to some of the concepts that we're starting to see evolve and what this means for severe weather moving forward. So what you're going to notice is the northern portion of the line on the eastern end, it does not have any block towards it. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Trajectory air is coming out of Lexington, West Liberty, Jackson, and there's no thunderstorms there. There are thunderstorms now that are south of the area near Louisville, near Tell City. And so what this is going to do is block moisture transportation to the north. Normally what happens is one of these lines would become the dominant line and weaken the secondary line. So we've got an area of thunderstorms that's near Lebanon, Campbellsville, Greensburg, south of Columbia. What does this mean for the line that's towards the northwest? Well, you can see for yourself. It's not as strong near Valley Station, nor is it in Brandenburg, nor is it in Tell City, nor is it in Patesville. The area of the storms that are still the strongest are the ones that have been able to accelerate and get out ahead of that southern line. Eventually, the southern line would wreck the northern line and become the main show moving forward. We haven't fully reached that time, but we continue here with a storm. And Rick kind of focused on something that I think is quite interesting. What you're going to notice here is, number one, this is a supercell thunderstorm that's rotating north of Simpsonville. Rick, I'm going to talk about this for a moment, but I'm curious. This one should be coming right down Simpsonville. We should be able to see this if we have our Simpsonville camera aimed west. Rick's also showing just some of the things that we have seen. This was sent from Wayne, and you can see this was along I-265 in southern Indiana, where an 18-wheeler was flipped over. What we're going to do here, though, is look specifically on that storm that's moving down Simpsonville, towards Simpsonville. We've got our camera here that's at Cardinal Club, so it should have a bird's eye view of what's occurring. But there is Rick picked up on this. There's an increased area of lightning right on the hook of this thing. The hook is where there is rising. Where the air is rising is the updraft. The updraft is the lifeline of the storm. The updraft is, if there was a tornado, it would occur within this area. I want to look a little bit closer here and zoom in on this, the hook on this storm. That is the core of that, the rotation, is just a hint north of I-64, where there is a hail core right now. So here would be Shelbyville Road, here's Simpsonville, and the core of that is now making its march just north of Simpsonville. Here's Chestnut Grove. So Chestnut Grove, be aware, this thing is very likely to produce some hail, maybe the size of peas, maybe up to 1-inch size. That would probably be the most generous we could get out of this, but we still have thunderstorms moving through Metro Louisville, through St. Matthews, through J-Town, through Glen Mary, through Fern Creek. But our strongest thunderstorm right now within our viewing area is the severe thunderstorm that is moving through parts of Oldham, moved out basically a lot of this out of Jefferson County and the northern part of Shelby County. It's worth noting that there are no more tornado warnings that are in effect for our area. I do think that we're going to continue to stay with this for a little while, but what I do want to mention here is I would like at some point to continue for our news to update us on what's occurring around the area in terms of power outages and that type of thing. We're going to go over to our Simpsonville camera here so you can see the storm, and Rick has moved that camera so we kind of have a good view.
Yeah, production should take that one.
So there you can see, this is out of Simpsonville. So this is looking towards the northwest, and you can see this is the back edge of that, and you can see what kind of, it looks like a little bow from the Bow and Echo. That is the rear flank downdraft that's pulling around that. What that basically means is that some cold air wrapping around it. It can try to spin up in this kind of a scenario. So my message here is that we continue to be well aware that we've got a rotating thunderstorm that has a hail, that's producing hail. It's north of 64 by about 6 miles, making its march towards the east-northeast. Ultimately, it's going to move through the Chestnut Grove area, and then beyond that would move towards Bethlehem. But, you know, Newcastle, who's already been hit by a severe thunderstorm, and I don't know if that was tornadoing when it made its way into Newcastle. We do know it was for sure west of there, but Newcastle's getting lightning, more heavy rain. One of the things that I always think about that's really hard to kind of comprehend and digest out of this stuff is that some of these people may have a roof lifted off their home. And we've gotten some reports of that. And then you've got hail and rain that comes pouring in the house after that.
So you think the damage is done, but then you get rain on top of all your stuff that's left in there, and yeah, it just gets worse. So.
And for what it's worth, by the way, the storm that we're talking about produced 1-inch size hail that is basically south of Anchorage. That would be north of around Valhalla, Beckley Station Road, kind of in that area, produced 1-inch size hail, and may very well be doing that along the Jefferson and Oldham County line. So in Eminence, Kentucky, that's moving towards your area. Be aware, it's probably about 18 minutes from you, but 1-inch size hail, which is large enough hail to cause some problems, is moving through your area. We are in what is a scenario where we've had tornadoes touch down within our area. We had radar-confirmed tornadoes that did damage from basically near around Jeff that moved then through the Utica kind of like vicinity, crossed over the Ohio River just north of the East End Bridge, moved into Prospect. We have reports of a roof that's removed from a home on the northern side of Prospect, and we have some reports of damage that has been done in Oldham County to homes. Beyond that, we noted that a storm moved into Henry County that was producing a tornado that was west of Newcastle. And where we stand right now, Rick, is we've got rain and thunderstorms. I hate to even think about it like this, but March didn't have a lot of rain.